Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. One of my favorite guests is back in the studio today, and that's Chris Simpson. He's the director of National University's Center for Cybersecurity. Chris has forgot more about cybersecurity from the time he walked in here than I'll ever know. And I co-hosted a show, as he well knows, for 3 years on cybersecurity. Always good to see you, Chris.
Hey, it's great to be here, Drew, and thanks for having me in your awesome studio here.
Well, I really appreciate that. We are going to double team you. We have two co-hosts that are going to be asking you a question. Kristen Fogel, now in her second year co-hosting the Spotlight Show, which I'm forever grateful. Kristen is the executive director of San Diego Writers Inc. and joined by one of my associate producers, Sophia Lee, will be an incoming freshman at UC Berkeley. How you doing there, Sophia?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Yeah, how are you enjoying the gig being an associate producer of the show?
It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, a lot of cool guests on this. Kristen, why don't we get you started with questions for Chris?
Yeah, let's just talk a little bit about the mission of the organization.
Yeah, so National University, we're a veteran-founded university. We focus on adult learners. In our cybersecurity program, we have a lot of career transition people. So maybe they've worked in different fields and they want to get into the field of cybersecurity. So they come to us and we help them get ready to get into the field of cybersecurity.
Right. Thank you for your service. How long were you in the Navy?
I was in the Navy for 27 years.
And what was your title, last position you held when you retired?
Yeah, I was a lieutenant commander. My last tour, I was the N6 for the Boxer Expeditionary Strike Group, which I was in charge of the command, control, communications, information assurance for the Expeditionary Strike Group.
Now,
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, sounds like a big role. Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, and maybe you were involved with the Boxer, weren't they part of the Pacific Partnership? I think they were.
Yeah, they've been. That might have been after I left, but yeah, they were involved in a lot of different operations. We went down to South America, did some humanitarian operations,
And that's what it was.
Yeah, did some deployments to the Arabian Gulf and things like that.
Right. So Pacific Partnership, and I'm not sure if they're still doing this now, is exactly how Chris described it. They would take some of our ships down, whether there was a hurricane in topic or something in Panama. And then we were doing our show live at the time. So we actually hooked up with the CO of the Boxer. Of course, it was 2 a.m. his time. But, there was great publicity about it. But I remember that, quite a bit. When did you get interested in cyber? Was it just because of the work you were doing at the Navy?
Yeah, so it was part of the work I was doing in the Navy, and I was finishing up a computer science degree, and then I got interested in computer security. This was around 2000, and so when I finished that degree, the Navy opened up a new designator program, information professional, so I switched over to that and did my first tour as an information system security manager.
Right. Now, Sophia, correct me if I'm wrong, are you going to be computer science major, or am I making that up?
No, that's Madison.
I'm so sorry.
True.
So sorry. Well, I was 1 out of 2 on this. What's your major going to be?
I'm going to double major in psychology and film and media studies and get a minor in statistics.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. Exactly. So feel free to ask Chris questions as we go by. Talk about the clinic. The San Diego Cyber Clinic.
Yeah, so the San Diego Cyber Clinic, it's a great initiative here in San Diego. It's a partnership between the San Diego Cyber Center of Excellence, National University, San Diego State University, and California State San Marcos. And basically, we have a grant from Google, and what we do is our students go out and do clinics for small businesses. So think of it like a legal or medical clinic. And it's a great opportunity for small business or even medium-sized businesses to get free, high-quality cybersecurity services for anything from developing policy, doing vulnerability assessments, providing advice on what kind of tools and things to buy. So it's a really great opportunity. And not only do the organizations get the free work, but our students get that real world experience to help them transition into the field. Because it can be a bit challenging sometimes at the entry level to get a job without any experience. But now the students that participate in the clinic, they can go to a prospective employer and say, oh yeah, I did a vulnerability assessment for a 20-person company in San Diego. We did this, this, and this.
Right, exactly. Sophia?
Yeah, so I know that large businesses and hospitals in particular are targets of cyber attacks, but why would somebody want to attack a small business? Why can a small business benefit?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Good question.
Great question.
Great question.
From these students. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So a couple of things. So in many cases, a small business, they support a larger business. So the attackers that want to get into the big business, they'll go after the small business, which may not have enough defenses to properly secure themselves. Additionally, small businesses tend to be easier targets, and so the scammers or attackers, if they want to extract money or ransomware from them, they're a bit of easier target to get information from. And in many cases, the smaller businesses, they may not have the resources to pay for some of these cybersecurity services.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point you brought up, Sophia. And I know when Chris was on our show many moons ago with Liz Frauman, as you remember, of course, from ESET, God rest her soul, left us way too young in this aspect of it. We always talk about cyber hygiene, and which is something that oozes out of Chris and all that business. But it's amazing how people don't practice it, and all you have to do is do one flub up, and then you're in trouble. Talk about that.
Yes. So in many cases, it just the basics will keep a determined attacker out, or they'll just go on to somebody else that's easier to break into. And that's what the students that are participating in the clinic can do. They can come out, help organizations do the basics, help them get started. So basically put good hygiene procedures in place.
Right. And a lot of it is common sense in this aspect, but we're humans and we don't use common sense in many of these aspects of it. But when you make one boo-boo, okay, it is a tough thing to go ahead and then think about the companies. And you mentioned some of the big ones you're talking about earlier, Sophia. It's tough to unravel that aspect of it. And I don't know if any of you have ever had your ID stolen. Mine has not, my identification. But Chris, if that happens, that is a tough process to get that taken care of, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a very challenging process to cancel your credit cards, get identity protection. And so that can take a lot of time and resources, and you have to fight the bogus charges. So that's real important. And if you think about like a small business, if they lose access to their bank account, and if money goes out of the bank account, that can be harder to recover. If like they do some type of social engineering and say get somebody to transfer money that they weren't supposed to transfer, so it can be really challenging.
Yeah, you really got to stay on top of that. We're chatting with Chris Simpson. He's the director of National University's Center for Cybersecurity. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast in our 19th year, brought to you by the fine folks of Mission-Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things such as food insecurity. They're involved in the arts, financial literacy, Alzheimer's. Joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She's the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. and the associate producer of the Spotlight Show, Sophia Lee. Chris, and we'll get back to the clinic in a second, but I do want to shine a light on the work you do with these contests for the kids, the Cyber Patriot or the Mayor's Cup, which is really, really cool. Can you talk about that? Yeah,
sure. So one way to get students interested into cybersecurity are there competitions. So here in San Diego, we have the SoCal Cyber Cup. And it's a middle school, high school, and community college cyber competition for not just San Diego County, but Imperial County, Orange County, Riverside, and San Bernardino County. And basically what these students do is they complete a bunch of different challenges. They have to defend an environment against attack. And it gives them real world experience. And it's interesting. You go to like the finals competition when we used to hold them on site, and you've got, middle schoolers and high schoolers just enthralled and focused for hours at a time, staying off their phones, but they're focused on a mission of completing these challenges. It's a really great event for the kids. And recently, my colleague Dr. Nancy Jones, she held a Gen Cyber Clinic, and basically what they do is they do a training camp for middle school and high school teachers to help them prepare for to teach cybersecurity in their programs to help the students. And as part of that, they get access to different lab environments, and they get free certification, Security Plus certification voucher, so that they can go and get certified themselves, so they can teach it to the kids.
Talk a little bit about, those folks who are getting into cyber. There's quite a few jobs that are opening up or are currently opened and can't get filled just because of the fact people don't have that background. Talk about that.
Yeah, so it's a challenge in cybersecurity. It's a bit of a chicken or egg problem. Companies want experienced professionals, but there's not a lot of experienced professionals. We recently had an advisory council meeting, and one of the topics was how entry-level jobs really aren't entry-level. And so how do you get the students up to that level? One of the big things that we do in our program, and I know the other universities here in the area also do, is we have our students do competitions. So by doing a competition or hands-on learning, they can demonstrate experience to potential employers. And then this is really where the clinic comes in. So in our program and at Cal State San Marcos, the clinic program is a culminating experience of either their bachelor's or master's cybersecurity program. So they're going to have all this knowledge. They're going to roll into it. They're going to complete a project, and it's going to give them that kind of step up to help them get in those entry-level jobs. And then for San Diego State University, they have a different approach. They're letting students from various programs. They're doing a kind of a training boot camp for them to get them ready, and then they're going to go in and do projects as part of the clinic.
All right, again, we're chatting with Chris Simpson. He's the director of National University's Center for Cybersecurity. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to our edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. When we come back from break, Chris, I want to talk a little bit about some of the degree programs that NU offers in cybersecurity. And for those folks who are even interested in being involved with the clinic, if you are a business, hey, I'd love to. It's Kristen's vacuum shop, and I need to be part of the clinic, and you don't have a
Kristen's Writers Inc. shop. That sounds amazing.
So we'll talk about how you can get signed up for that as well. And then, as you know, we always leave some time, Chris, what our listeners can do to support what you're doing, not only at National University, but at the clinic. We will be right back after this short message.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Having one of my favorite guests in the studio today from National University is the director of University Center for Cybersecurity. That is Chris Simpson, talking about the San Diego Cyber Clinic, and two co-hosts joining me, Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of San Diego Writers Inc., and the Associate Producer of the Spotlight Show, Sophia Lee. So how many degrees do you folks offer at NU in cyber?
Yeah, so at National University, we offer bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees in cybersecurity.
Wow.
Various specializations in each one of those different programs.
Right, exactly. And is that growing in your world? I mean, can you keep up with it? Are more people applying for that? Yes, no?
Yeah, in our programs, we have steady growth, both in our on-site and our online programs. And forgot to mention, we do both on-site here in San Diego, and we also have online programs. So anywhere in the world, we have students, especially military students stationed around the world, that take advantage of our online program.
Yeah, I was going to ask you this. You were founded by a military guy many moons. How long have you been at NU now?
I've been there about 14 years now. I started out as a part-time faculty member and then became a full-time faculty member.
Right, exactly. And, the military is near and dear to NU's heart. And I know there's a huge percentage of the students that are certainly military, and you are in your background. Does that make it, because of especially the experience you had in your role in the Navy, but the folks who maybe don't have the same type of job you did in the Navy, whether they're in the Army or the Air Force, I imagine that'd be a relatively good transition to get into cyber, correct?
Yeah, it is a good transition, especially if you think of a military person. They already have leadership, management, organizational skills. So if they come to our program, they can beef up their technical skills and be workforce ready.
Right, and we need those. You were talking about, Kristen, even though San Diego Writers Inc., they could benefit from the clinic, correct?
I think lots of small, organizations can benefit because, you're right. You don't necessarily have the resources, and comparing it to, those free legal services that we do know about and things like that, that's a very apt comparison. And I could see how we could use something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So what are some of the biggest challenges that are facing what the clinic is doing, of course, or in your role at NU?
Yeah, so when we think about the clinic, sometimes there's some hesitancy for people to say, hey, we don't want students working on our network. But a couple things to think as part of this is, so this is part of a grant we received from Google. So we have resources to buy enterprise level tools. We have training. We have 2 mentors assigned from Google, and they help our students on different projects answer questions. And then we just got a great team. So we've got Dr. Lance Larson from San Diego State University, well-known Homeland Security, critical infrastructure, vulnerability management expert. We got Teresa Macklin, retired CISO of Cal State San Marcos. She brings her experience in governance, risk, and compliance, so to prepare the students to do those kind of things for the organization. And then at National University, we have an awesome part-time faculty team so that run our capstone classes. That's how we do the clinic. And those faculty members, they're working in industry, so they're bringing that real-world experience. So there's no downside for the organizations that participate in the clinic, except they do have to give a little bit of time because they have to meet with the students. The students have to be able to understand what the issue is, and then they have to spend some time, reading the report the students give them, either implementing what the students recommend, asking questions, and things like that.
I used to ask you this all the time when we did the cyber show, so I'll ask you now on our Spotlight show. It's always trying to stay one step ahead of the bad guys, so to speak, right? And they're trying to stay 2 steps ahead of the good guys. It never ends, does it not?
You're right. It is a never-ending battle. But if you focus on some of the basics, if you know what you have, what your assets are, what's your most important information, or let's say in the case of like a writing organization, it's that proprietary information to keep that safe and accessible. Focusing on basic cyber hygiene,
right?
Strong passwords, maybe using a password manager, doing basic patching, having some type of antivirus. And another important thing is with your team training, right? So people know, hey, the boss is never going to send you a text to transfer $10,000 to some bank account overseas, right? So the training, not to click on the links, and it's challenging. Sophia and I were talking before about here in California, we get the text messages for the tolls, right? You got to pay the toll, you're late.
Yeah.
And they do that sense of urgency.
Right.
And I recently did some interviews about job scams. It's funny, yesterday I had a job scam. Best Buy, we want to hire you now to be a customer service rep, 4-day probation period, then you're in. Those are the types of things that the scammers do, and they blast them out to millions of people.
And so, I spend half my day blocking numbers, right? And then, of course, they come back and they're there the next day with 1 extra digit and all that. Is there a way we can absolutely just have these numbers shut down for good, or that's just not going to happen?
Yeah, so that's really kind of a national level solution. Yeah. I know like on my iPhone, you can report the junk too. So if you can help feed those databases, that will help them eventually block block the numbers.
Right.
And then if more people stop doing this, then the scammers won't have won't be able to make money.
We've talked about this before, and of course, Kristen, you and Sophia are too young to understand this.
Oh, bless you.
But as seniors like me, and not Chris, I'm 105 years older than Chris as well. But fortunately, I've been around computers a little bit. I stink at them, but I've been around enough. But there's a whole group of seniors that have don't even know how to use a phone. They get sophisticated these days, or the computers. They are at risk at all these cyber attacks, correct? And is there a way to sit there and help them in that area? Does the clinic work with seniors at all?
Yes. So, the clinics can certainly work with seniors if there's like a senior group or a senior home.
Survey seniors or something like that, right?
That would like some type of cybersecurity training. That's definitely something that our clinic would be happy to help with, build training, build flyers, brochures, things like that.
Yeah, but I think it's some of the common sense. If you don't recognize it, don't click on it, and all this. Sophia, have you ever been, trapped by some of these things and hit the wrong button, and then something bad has happened to some of the things you want to protect?
No, I don't think so. But I mean, everybody, especially young people who are supposed to be tech savvy or whatever, we all think that we're immune to cyber threats. You always think that you're smarter than the scammer. That's how they get you.
Yeah.
Right.
We just had one too. I mean, what we were talking about with the gift cards or whatever. My employee first day came in and said, "Hey, you didn't text me and ask me to go pick up some gift cards, did you?" And, they see who their boss is on LinkedIn. And so they say the name of the person. I mean, they're getting like increasingly sophisticated. And I think one of the beautiful things is that we're all just skeptical about everything right now, but it can happen to anybody.
Yeah, there's no question. Chris, how do we support the clinic? What do we do?
Yeah, sure. So the best thing the best way to support the clinic is to help us get the word out. People can go to the San Diego Cyber Center of Excellence website. There's a form that people can fill out if they're interested in taking advantage of the clinic services. And it's just a great opportunity. We've done so many great projects. We've done schools, we've done water authorities, police stations, small businesses. And you're not too small. We've done like a small restaurant, and we've done larger organizations. So, and anything in between. So don't be afraid to ask for assistance and support from them.
I don't know why any organization would not do that, do you?
No, I think that's fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, and the CCOE, the Cyber Center of Excellence, you guys are always on top of your game. Some of the top cyber folks around. How's that the organization doing? How's Lisa doing?
Oh yeah, so that's an awesome organization. We've been working with the CCOE for several years now, and Lisa's awesome. She's a true leader in the cybersecurity community here in San Diego, and she keeps myself and Dr. Larson and Teresa all on track to make sure we're getting all the clinic stuff set up and running.
Well, listen, Chris, that's always good. The content you share is terrific. And we know we'll have you back on talking about some of maybe the students that have gone through your program and what they're doing now, or some different trends as well that are in the world of cyber that change every 5 seconds as well. So appreciate it. Give a high five to all of our wonderful NU colleagues when you chat with them next, and we'll look forward to having you come back on.
I sure will. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Chris Simpson, he is the director of National University's Center for Cybersecurity, joined by my very cool co-host with me, Sophia Lee, associate producer of the Spotlight on the Community Show, Kristen Fogel, executive director for San Diego Writers Inc. I'm Drew Schlosberg, as you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast in our 19th year, brought to you by the fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades, doing great things for people living in San Diego County. And to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.